Snow fell gently through the amber glow of the streetlights as the evening settled over the park. The massive Christmas tree at the center stood decorated with thousands of lights and ornaments. Its presence meant to spread joy. But to Trevor Hamilton, sitting alone on a wooden bench facing the tree, it only emphasized how empty his life had become. At 41, Trevor had everything the world told him should make him happy. He was the CEO of a tech giant with a net worth that placed him in the top 1%. He owned homes in 3 countries. His name appeared regularly in business magazines. But tonight, December 23rd, he had nowhere to go. His parents had passed away years ago. He had no siblings, no wife, no children. The relationships he'd attempted had all ended the same way, with women telling him he was more married to his company than to them. They weren't wrong. He'd chosen ambition over connection every single time. Now, watching families walk past with their shopping bags and laughter, Trevor felt the weight of those choices crushing down on him. A tear rolled down his cheek before he could stop it. Then another. "Don't cry, mister." Trevor looked up, startled. A little boy stood in front of him, maybe 4 or 5 years old. He wore a bright red winter coat and a tan knit hat with bare ears on top. His mittened hands held a small paper bag. His brown eyes were filled with concern that seemed far too mature for such a young face. "I'm okay," Trevor said, quickly wiping his eyes. "Just tired." The boy tilted his head, clearly not convinced. "My mommy says it's okay to cry when you're sad. She says keeping it inside makes it hurt worse. Are you sad?" Trevor found he couldn't lie to those earnest eyes. "Yes, I'm very sad." "Why?" "Because I'm alone. And it's almost Christmas. That's a time for families, but I don't have one." The boy considered this seriously. Then his face brightened with the kind of simple, beautiful solution only a child could offer. "You can borrow my mom. She's really nice. She gives the best hugs, and she makes hot chocolate with marshmallows. She's sad sometimes too, because my daddy's in heaven, but she says we make each other less lonely." "Maybe she can make you less lonely too." Trevor felt his throat tighten. "That's very kind, but I'm sure your mom is busy. She's right over there." The boy pointed to a woman approaching from the direction of the coffee cart, carrying 2 cups. She wore a cream-colored coat and had blonde hair pulled back in a simple style. Even from a distance, Trevor could see the warmth in her expression as she spotted her son. "Timothy, what did I tell you about wandering off?" She called gently, then stopped short when she saw Trevor. Her eyes took in his expensive suit, his tear-stained face, the loneliness that must have been written all over him. "Mommy, this mister is sad because he doesn't have a family for Christmas. I told him he could borrow you." The woman's expression softened immediately. She approached the bench, holding out one of the cups to Trevor. "I'm Hannah. This is my son Timothy. And he's right. You look like you could use some hot chocolate." Trevor took the cup with shaking hands. "I couldn't possibly take your drink. I bought 2 because Timothy always says he wants his own, but ends up drinking half of mine anyway. Consider it fate." She sat down on the bench, gesturing for Timothy to sit between them. "Timothy has a gift for noticing when people are hurting. I've learned to trust his instincts." "I'm Trevor," he said quietly, "and your son is very perceptive. I am hurting. More than I've let myself admit until tonight." Timothy pulled a cookie from his paper bag and broke it in half, offering the larger piece to Trevor. "Here, cookies make everything better. That's what Mommy always says." Trevor accepted the cookie, his vision blurring again. "Thank you." Hannah watched him with kind eyes. "Timothy told you about his father?" Trevor nodded. "He said he's in heaven." "I'm sorry, it's been 2 years. Car accident on an icy road. Sometimes I still can't believe he's gone. But Timothy keeps me going. He's taught me that even when you lose everything, you still have the capacity to give, like offering cookies and hot chocolate to sad strangers in the park. Don't you worry about him talking to strangers. Usually, yes, but I was watching. And honestly, you looked like you needed the kindness more than we needed caution. Sometimes taking a risk on compassion is worth it. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the snow fall and the Christmas tree lights twinkle. Timothy chattered about Santa Claus and the presents under their small tree at home. Hannah smiled indulgently, occasionally meeting Trevor's eyes with an understanding that needed no words. "Can I ask you something?" Trevor said, finally. "How do you do it? How do you keep going when you've lost everything?" Hannah was quiet for a moment. "I didn't lose everything. I lost my husband, which nearly destroyed me. But I still have Timothy. I still have my life. And I learned that loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about feeling disconnected. You can be surrounded by people and feel lonely, or you can be alone but connected to something bigger than yourself." "I've spent 20 years building a company," Trevor said. "I thought success would make me happy. But tonight, sitting here with your son's cookie in my hand, I feel richer than I have in years." "That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense," Hannah said gently. "Money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy connection. It can't buy the feeling of mattering to someone." Timothy tugged on Trevor's sleeve. "Do you want to come see our Christmas tree? It's not as big as this one, but Mommy and I made all the ornaments ourselves, and we have lots of hot chocolate at home." "Timothy, Mr. Trevor probably has plans," Hannah started, but Trevor interrupted. "Actually, I don't. Tate, I have no plans at all. If you're serious about the invitation, I'd be honored to see your tree." Hannah studied him carefully, and Trevor held his breath. He knew how this looked, a wealthy stranger accepting an invitation to a single mother's home. But she must have seen something in his eyes that convinced her, because she nodded. "We live 3 blocks from here. Fair warning, our apartment is small and our tree is slightly crooked, but it's warm and there's plenty of hot chocolate." The walk to their apartment felt surreal to Trevor. Timothy held his hand and talked nonstop about his favorite Christmas movies and what he'd asked Santa to bring. Hannah walked on Timothy's other side, occasionally catching Trevor's eye with a small smile. Their apartment was indeed small, maybe a quarter the size of Trevor's living room, but it was filled with warmth and light. A modest tree stood in the corner, decorated with paper chains, painted pine cones, and handmade ornaments that showed far more love than money. "See, I told you we made them all ourselves," Timothy said proudly. "That one is supposed to be a reindeer, but it looks more like a dog. Mommy says it's perfect anyway." "It is perfect," Trevor said, and meant it. "More perfect than anything in my house." Over hot chocolate and Christmas cookies, Trevor found himself talking about things he never discussed. About his childhood as an only child with distant parents. About building his company to prove his worth. About the emptiness that had been growing for years until tonight. It had finally broken through. Hannah listened without judgment. "You know what I think? I think you've been so busy climbing the mountain that you forgot to look around at the view. Success isn't about reaching the top. It's about who's climbing with you." "It's what's missing," Trevor said quietly. "I've been climbing alone." Timothy climbed into Trevor's lap with the unconscious trust of a child. "You don't have to be alone. You can be part of our family. We have room." Trevor hugged the boy, his eyes meeting Hannah's over Timothy's head. She didn't object to her son's offer. Instead, she smiled, and Trevor saw in her expression the same loneliness he'd been feeling. She was managing, surviving, being strong for her son. But she was also alone, carrying burdens no one should have to carry by themselves. "Would you like to spend Christmas with us tomorrow?" Hannah asked. "It won't be fancy. We're having roast chicken and watching movies, but you're welcome if you'd like to be part of our simple celebration." Trevor felt something break open in his chest. "I would like that more than anything in the world." Christmas Day was unlike any Trevor had ever experienced. He arrived with arms full of presents, which Hannah initially protested until Timothy's excitement went out. But the gifts weren't what made the day special. It was Timothy teaching him to play a board game. It was Hannah's laughter when Trevor burned the cookies they tried to make. It was the three of them watching movies on the couch, Timothy falling asleep between them. It was feeling, for the first time in his adult life, like he belonged somewhere. Over the following months, Trevor became a regular presence in their lives. He helped Hannah when her car broke down. He came to Timothy's kindergarten play. He had dinner with them every Sunday, tradition that became the highlight of his week. And slowly, carefully, what started as borrowed comfort became something real. Hannah saw past his wealth to the lonely man who'd been crying on a park bench. Trevor saw past her struggles to the strong, loving woman who'd offered him hot chocolate and hope. A year after that snowy December evening, Trevor proposed to Hannah in the same park, on the same bench where Timothy had first approached him. Timothy was the ring bearer at their small wedding, and in his speech at the reception, he told everyone how he'd known from the first moment that Trevor needed them and they needed him. "I told him he could borrow my mom," Timothy said, seriously. "But now he gets to keep her, and I get to keep him too." That's how family works, 'cause sometimes the bravest thing we can do is accept help when we're broken. Sometimes a child's wisdom leads us exactly where we need to be. And sometimes the family we need is the one that finds us when we're crying alone on a park bench, reminding us that we're never too lost to be found. If this story reminded you that it's never too late to find your way home, that success means nothing without someone to share it with. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below about a time when an unexpected connection changed your life forever. Your story might give someone else the courage to accept the help they need.